Hi, I'm Don. Today we're unpacking a package that arrived today. I was waiting for this package since last month, or actually since they told me that it's ready to ship. So today, join me as we unpack this package that came from Redgrass Games. Hi, I'm Don. Welcome to my studio. Redgrass has been one of the most supportive and awesome partners since last year. So basically last year they messaged me at Twitter asking me if I would want to get some stuff from them, and of course I said yes. However, I told them that I'm not a good miniature painter and I'm just starting out or just taking miniature painting a bit more seriously last year around the same month around July. I told Redgrass that I'm a gunpla mecha painter and that's mostly like airbrush and just a bit of weathering once in a while. Around the same time last year, I do not paint as much minis as I want to because I'm really busy with like mecha projects for Vallejos colors. Since last year though, I feel or I think that my miniature painting has improved and Redgrass Games or the Redgrass Wet Palette played a huge role in the improvement of my miniature painting. I have yet to use the gray putty, of course, even during like the voiceover recording of this video, but I'll check if it's less sticky than the orange putty, which I don't really have a problem because I prime with Mecha Primer. A few people say that the orange putty is too sticky for paints, they peel it off sometimes, but I use Mecha paints, especially for priming, so I don't have that problem. You see in this package that I got some stuff, mainly miniature handles, which are awesome because it rotates 360 degrees. And the new handles have a gray putty now, not the older orange putty. And also I got some like brushes, a couple of each, the dry brush, the number 1, I think, or number 2 brush, the big brush, and the detail brush. I highly recommend the Redgrass brushes so much. If you've noticed, in most of my videos, I usually use the Redgrass brushes. One of the new features of the V2 version 2 wet palette by Redgrass is this mixing dish which has no longer the magnets to attach to the wet palette. I think Redgrass also says that this mixing dish that came with the V2 wet palette is also easier to clean, but we'll see soon. Another new feature of the wet palette, the V2 wet palette, is this handle or holder of like Citadel washes and well, Citadel pots. The pots are really tight over this like holder and you won't get like spillage if you use a ton of this Citadel pots or paints or washes, but I rarely use this paint, so I doubt I'll be using it as much. Oh, and I got a couple of like packs of reusable wet palette paper. Now for the main dish. So we're unpacking or unboxing this Redgrass V2 wet palette. To be honest, I was really surprised with the improvements of this V2 wet palette in comparison to my older wet palette. I think Redgrass is right, the best got better. The best thing about the Redgrass wet palettes, even the older one, are the reusable paper because it's very economical. I've used like a paper or a sheet of reusable membrane for like 15 painting sessions, meaning 15 washes before I replace it with a newer reusable wet palette paper. Oh, by the way, the package also came with a book, a painting book done by Angel Heraldes. I'll check the book later and I'm pretty sure I'll learn a few things from the book because I'm relatively a newish miniature painter. I'm not really sure, but the foam, I got a couple of foam pads and they kind of feel different from the old one. They feel more foamy or airy, but looks as absorbent or even perhaps better, maybe a bit more absorbent than the old foam pads. Now the lid is crazy tight. As you can see in the video, I kinda struggled opening the lid of the wet palette and I was really shocked. I was shook and surprised because the older wet palette is not as tight as this newer V2 wet palette lids. And also the older palettes have like a strap, a rubber, not rubber, a cloth straps to keep the lid of the wet palette sealed. But this one, it's really tight and should make sure that your paints will keep fresh far longer than before. Attaching the mixing dish and the holder of the Citadel pots was a bit of a struggle too for me at the start because I'm used to like the older magnets wherein you just slap it on the side of the wet palette. This one is more secured. However, it takes a bit of practice, like a couple of times, before you get used to like sliding it from the side. I've tried like DIY wet palettes. I've even used plates which were made fun of at Facebook as usual, as expected. And I've also like bought a Chinese wet palette last year, like early last year. And it doesn't work as well as the Redgrass Wet Palette. So I'm kind of sad that I'm not using my Studio XL, my 1 year old Studio XL Wet Palette, but I'm converting it into a dedicated glass palette so that I could use it for oil painting, dry brushing, and stuff like that. Now let's set up the new V2 wet palette from Redgrass. Basically, you just place the foam on top or inside the gray part or the lid. Actually, you could use the lid, the orange lid, into like convert it into another wet palette in case you need two wet palettes because you're painting a large project or you're painting an army or you're sharing your wet palette with another person, which is great because the package has two like foam pads and you get to use both the lid and the gray part, the body of the wet palette, as wet palettes. Then, after you place it on the gray part, you just soak it with water. It's faster to soak with warm water. I don't know why, but I went off camera and placed warm water on top of it, and I just pressed on the foam so that I wet the whole foam and get it like totally wet and remove the air parts or the parts that are still dry. This will take you around 5 to maybe 10 minutes, but it's kind of easy to soak it, especially after you've used it already. But we're soaking the foam pad for the first time. That's why it's a bit of like it takes a bit of time before you totally soak the foam pad. Once the foam pad is fully soaked with the water, you could now lay down the wet palette paper and it will wrinkle and buckle for like the first few minutes, and then you just help it by spreading or pressing like making sure that you remove the wrinkles and stuff like that. And maybe in less than 5 minutes, you'll have a really flat surface as the paper, the other side of the paper, kind of absorbs a bit of water. And key to using a wet palette is making sure that the top part of the paper is always dry even during painting. Now I got 3 handles in this package. So I got like 3 logos, metallic logos to like these are holders of the handle. So I stuck the metal logos to my old Studio XL, and the other one I stick it on top of the orange lid, which is I can't really place it in the middle because there's an embossed logo this time for the newer wet palette, so I place it on the upper left. That's it, Pansit. We'll paint very soon. Lastly, super thanks to Redgrass for the support. Do check them out.
That's it, we're done. I hope you liked the video. Do like, comment, subscribe, and consider joining the channel so that you'll be part of our Discord community. Saludos!